If I'm Dak Prescott, I am genuinely thinking I need to get up out of here. Not next year, but now. I have total control over how that happens. So if I go to Jerry and say, I'm not doing my contract with you. You want me to play for you next year? We're going to do it in the last year of my contract, and my cap number is going to be $59.5 million. We have seen many NBA players and a handful of NFL players force their way out of situations they didn't want to be in. And if I'm Dak and I got problems with my star on offense and my star on defense, and the owner is saying this stuff about me, and I could go get whatever my contract that I want long-term is in any of a handful of other places right now, I do it. I walk in there and say, trade me. And here's a list of places I'm going.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I want to make sure that I get this right, because what you're suggesting is something that literally never happens. I'm going to go through the Cowboys quarterback lineage, and you're going to tell me how many of them played for another team, okay?
Yeah.
Don Meredith.
I don't. He didn't start with them, I don't think, but he did not play for another team.
Roger Staubach.
Of course not.
Danny White.
Did not.
Troy Aikman.
Of course not.
Tony Romo.
No.
So you're telling me that Dak Prescott is going to elect to play quarterback for a team other than the Dallas Cowboys when literally no one else ever has?
Right. Well, I mean, go find me the quotes about Troy Aikman where Michael Irvin's mother was saying Troy isn't it, and who was their defensive stars, but Ken Norton Jr.'s brother was coming out. That's a bad example. Charles Haley's brother, Dion's brother, was coming out and saying Troy needs to take a team-friendly deal or pack your bags. Or Jerry Jones at that time was saying we'll go as far as Troy takes us. You know what? Because Troy took them to the Super Bowl.
What I'm saying, though, is you have to go back to the early 70s when Tom Landry created a quarterback controversy between Craig Morton and Roger Staubach.
Right.
To find a quarterback that didn't want to continue playing in Dallas.
Right.
It has never happened.
But these are really unique circumstances, and money is so enormous now. Unless Dak Prescott is dying for a post-playing career in broadcasting, then being the quarterback of the Cowboys isn't doing him any more good. He's not any more famous right now. He's more scrutinized. He's more talked about, but he's not any more famous than the quarterbacks of a lot of other teams. I get it. I mean, Troy Aikman has had an incredible post-career, and Romo has had an incredible post-career. Roger Staubach actually made himself a billionaire in business. That's a different thing.
You're making my point for me.
No. But what I'm saying is that only has some value. At some point, he doesn't cost you $900,000. And you have to decide if signing him is worth losing whatever the equivalent at that point is of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and whatever other players you can't otherwise afford to lose. Or you're better off having all those players and finding the next Brock Purdy who might be 10% less good but costs you 2% of what it costs you to pay a great quarterback. The reason I'm getting to this is we're entering a world where we're going to start paying good players great player money. And that's why these teams don't win. Because, you got a quarterback, you got to pay him. Do you? You got to pay $55 million for Jared Goff? I'm sorry. I just don't think so. Again, God bless him. I hope he gets his $55 million. I hope he's happy with it. But if I were running a team, I would be very hesitant to do that.
I would have a hard time giving Brock Purdy $55 million based upon 25 games, with 26 games now, which is what we've seen him play in the NFL. But this is not a now decision. They have the opportunity to pay him next year less than $1 million. Then the year after that is his fourth year. And then theoretically, you can franchise him not once but twice. So if you're so confident in Kyle Shanahan's system that you want to go that route, that's fine. But that's 2, 3, 4 years from now where you can still benefit from the fact that this guy's going to be pretty cheap. Well, you don't have to commit long-term dollars to this guy. And who's to say that Kyle Shanahan can't find a running back or a receiver or a tight end in the draft that can also make his system hum? I mean, Brandon Ayuk was a late one or a 2. Like George Kittle was a fourth or fifth round pick. So it's not quarterback is not the only position where that would necessarily apply in a system. If you're saying that Shanahan's as good as you think he is, he can find other guys that can make the system work too that aren't necessarily just the quarterback.
By the way, and perhaps this is just an aside, I don't know that he's playing better than RG3 did as a rookie.
Oh, he absolutely is.
RG3 as a rookie completed 65.5% of his passes for 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 5 picks. He ran for 815 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
How much better than that can you be?
Brock Purdy was considerably better than that this year. I mean, when you're averaging 9 yards per pass attempt, which is what Brock Purdy did, you were doing something historically great.
Okay, RG3 averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt on a team that I believe that led the league that year. I'm trying to see why these numbers are in.
I think he led the NFL in passer rating that season. He was outstanding. I'm not taking anything away from Robert Griffin III that year. What I'm saying is that he was not an MVP level player. Brock Purdy led the NFL in QBR. If you do that, you win the MVP, except for this year. Brock Purdy is magnificent. Absolutely magnificent in this system. He's better than RG3 was that year. The only person that compares is 2016 Matt Ryan. He's the only one.
I mean, you're discounting the running, right? I mean, he ran for 815 yards. What did we do QBR that year?
Yeah, we did. I'll pull it up right now.
What was his QBR in 2012? I'd just be curious to know. What was Brock Purdy's QBR? We've now separated ourselves from the previous conversation.
Sure.
What was Brock Purdy's QBR this year relative to RG3?
So RG3's was 69.4. And Brock Purdy this year was 75.4. It's 5% better.
That's a big difference, yeah.
It's a big difference on that scale, and that includes the running. That includes the quality of the opponent. That includes everything. Now, obviously, this is a 49ers team with more weapons, with better weapons, and that counts for something too. What I'm saying is that you seem to have some built-in biases against Brock Purdy. Not to say that you don't think he's good, but you are giving Kyle Shanahan a disproportionate amount of credit. Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019 was a quarterback who was benefiting from the yards after the catch phenomenon. Like more than half of the yardage that Jimmy Garoppolo gained that year as a quarterback, 55% was coming from that. Brock Purdy this year is like 10% less than that. Brock Purdy this year ranked in the bottom third in the NFL in the amount of yardage that he got from Yak. He is not merely dumping the ball off and going. He is challenging the defense downfield in a way that no Kyle Shanahan quarterback ever has.